VCE Media is made up of 4 units. Unit 1, Media Forms, Representations and Australian Stories. Unit 2, Narrative across Media Forms. Unit 3, Media Narratives and Pre-Production. And Unit 4, Media Production and Issues in the Media. Each unit is set with specific content contained in areas of study, and this is designed to enable students to achieve a set of outcomes for that unit. The lesson plan I have made fits in with Year 11 VCE Unit 1, and the aim is for students to gain the skills and knowledge that media codes and conventions are used to construct media products and meanings in different media forms. In this lesson, students will have the following experiences. Students will have the experience to create their own magazine cover to the style of their choice, using the codes and conventions of that style. Describing a representation means explaining how the text has been constructed. It involves identifying the codes that have been used in a representation and describing the meaning that these signs carry. Students will be able to independently use their learning to break down the narrative codes and conventions of a news broadcast, romantic comedy, teen comedy, horror, and sci-fi genres. Students will gain the understandings that all media texts are constructed. As they are being constructed, important decisions are made about how the subject will be represented. When you take a photograph, you make a number of important decisions about how the subject will be represented. These include lighting, camera angles, shot size, visual composition, posture, and facial expression. Students will also understand the semiotics tells us that signs have both a denotive and connotative meaning. The denotive meaning of sign is what it literally means. The connotative meaning of sign is what we associate it with. This varies from person to person. Nevertheless, there are widespread cultural connotations attached to signs. Think about the colour black. Depending on the content, this is a colour that is usually associated with funerals and death. When you describe the representation, you need to describe what is in the representation, referring to appropriate codes and conventions. Some essential questions or phrases include the colour red in representation is used to convey a sense of. The lighting in this photograph signifies. The camera angle creates the impression that. This colour has connotations of. This colour is associated with. The use of shot size creates the impression that. This activity will show evidence in both formative and summative assessment. Formative assessment will be watching students when experimenting with photos and editing and take notes on what works and what doesn't. Use this information to take in consideration of what they know and what they don't know to gauge the following lessons. Summative assessment would be producing the product of the magazine cover of the style they picked, including the codes and conventions of that style. Evidence of research of genre and style of the magazine they pick, and student participation in the activity and class discussions. The warm-up activity would be to show screenshots from 2 different film or TV shows with different genres. Students will have to guess what genre it is from the codes and conventions they think they see. This will open up discussion about what codes and conventions are in each genre, and the students can discuss how they know this. Conventions are basically the way certain media products are made, based on how it's usually made. Like stereotypes, conventions are used as shorthand for audiences to easily understand the media product. Conventions can also be genre-specific. We expect certain films of a certain genre to look a certain way, have a certain type of music, and a particular narrative structure. This leads into Activity 1, where the task is for students to research and describe what they find in certain genres in regards to codes and conventions. First, we will watch a news broadcast together as a class to model what we're looking for, and then we'll write our findings in dot points in their book. Then they'll be given time to go off and research and describe the codes and conventions of the following genres: romantic comedy, teen comedy, horror, and sci-fi. The main activity is for students to create a magazine cover of the style of their choice. They must show they have done research and displayed that in their cover. Before students go off, explain the different codes and conventions for a typical magazine cover. These include the logo, dateline, main image, model credit, cover lines, main cover line, left third, the top third of the cover, barcode, and selling line. Students will need to take a good quality photo of themselves in portrait shot. If students choose otherwise, they must explain their choices. Edit their photo using Photoshop. Provide a template that students may use if they wish. Students will create their own cover lines, date lines, and barcode to complete their magazine cover. Then they will be printed off, laminated, and displayed around the room. Discussion and reflection to close the activity will be sharing what we have made, discussing what worked and what didn't, and how was the genre/representation displayed in this magazine cover, and how do we know this by using the codes and conventions. This activity could then lead into gender in movie posters, where students can describe how representations of women in movie posters have changed over the last 70 years. Students will be able to compare how the females have been represented differently in different years, referring to the appropriate codes and conventions they've learnt from the past lesson.